Mobile Industry Review, Mobile Developer TV.
From the inception of the firm, we've really believed that technology is a global phenomenon. The reason for that is a lot of us came from the mobile industry, among others, and that's clearly been a global technology phenomenon. So our perspective is that you need perspective, and that going to a place like Barcelona, which isn't a bad place to visit, is also a great place to have a little bit more perspective than maybe we have here in Menlo Park, if you can believe it. Our seed investor was a firm you might have heard of. They're called Nokia. No, small firm, bunch of nice people in the North Country, some tremendous folks. And a little over 11 years ago, they actually seeded the first fund. They've continued to be an investor in the firm. We've expanded the firm. We've added other investors. We've continued to globalize. But fundamentally, yes, there's some serious mobile DNA in our skin and under our skin. Fundamentally, I think the industry's changed a lot in the last 2 years. 11 years, it's hard for me to even remember back 11 years. I mean, 11 years ago, we were sort of just experiencing the benefits of digitalization. So we had just made the migration from 2.5G to the beginnings of the promise of 3G for those of us who want to get into the Gs. So if you remember that far back, yes, we were sort of talking about how data would overtake voice, and it's almost embarrassing to even say those words because it makes you feel like a bit of a dinosaur now, because I mean, guess what? Data did overtake voice, and it changes everything. And yes, we knew that, and yes, we predicted it for the last 15, 17 years, but its impact is still, I think, somewhat surprising. We are exclusively an early stage investor, so from a stage standpoint, we're the first institutional investors in a company. The reason for that is that that's really the background of the founders of the firm. We enjoy that phase of the market. Although we manage approximately $1 billion, that's spread over 4 funds now, so it's not as much money as it sounds. So from a pure economic standpoint, we're structured to be an early stage investor. From an expertise standpoint, that's the area that we choose to participate so that we can actually build companies. So what that means is, first, institutional money. So typically the way it's evolved, the market today is that you typically are going to raise some seed funding from angels, friends and family, and that's usually around $50,000 to say $500,000. We would be the next investor into that. We would probably have been working with the company alongside some of the angels who've invested in you if you're a Silicon Valley-based company, for a period of time before we'd invest. But generally the initial investments would be, in this day and age, you're talking about initial investments of like $2 to $5 million. I think what that reflects is a different topic, which is how much more capital efficient startups can be today than they were 11 years ago. So say 11 years ago, what I used to say, to start a mobile company, I would expect that you'd need to raise $20 to $35 million 11 years ago, maybe more. And I think that today, you've probably halved that requirement, and I think that's a phenomenal opportunity for entrepreneurs globally. I can tell you a funny story maybe that most people probably don't remember. One of the most successful investments I've ever made was I invested in this very scrappy group of 3 people, really, in this company that called Confinity. They had a product that they called PayPal. The product overtook all of us. It became a tremendous phenomenon. But what's interesting was that when we initially invested, it was actually a mobile payment system, and it actually morphed to become the dominant internet payment system, because that's where the traffic was. But I believe, and I could be proven wrong, I'm sure the blogosphere will tell me, if it wasn't the first, it was one of the first WAP payment systems in the world. It's just the traffic happened to be on email, and it was used for things called online auctions in eBay that sort of made history. But really, that started as a mobile company. So I'd say it was significantly mobile at its inception. Ultimately, eBay bought the company. Yes. Yeah, it was tremendous. It's what's great about it is it was phenomenal people who were very smart, and it's the proliferation of that group of people continues through through the valley and actually worldwide, but predominantly here. In the mobile side, we invest in everything from components up through services. Personally, I'm more focused on services, or the application layer is kind of more towards what I tend to focus on in investments. But I do have other partners who will invest down to the the semiconductor level or component level. Because the other thing that's probably a little different about us is that, as I mentioned, our perspective was that you need to be global. And our firm is actually global. So I'm sitting here in Menlo Park talking to you, but I also have partners in China, I have a partner in Korea, I have a partner in Europe. And when we look at technology, we actually look at the technology in the total. We don't say we're only going to do this particular company in this particular market. We say let's look for the best particular company, irrespective of where we find it, and can we make it a global company? And I think that's probably a little bit different perspective than maybe some investors. Best way is email me, jmalloy@brv.com. If you send me an email, you'll get a response. If it's delayed, it's only because I'm traveling, but you'll definitely hear from me. And I'm excited to talk to. You never know where the great idea is going to come from. If you want an investor who is going to have an open perspective that even if you're located somewhere else other than Silicon Valley, we're definitely the firm to talk to. We believe that ideas can start anywhere. It's not really where they start, it's where they end up. The best thing to do is give me a short summary so that I can understand, preferably as simple for a person like me, but preferably 1 to 2 pages summary of what you're trying to do. And from there we'll come back to you with next steps.
Mobile Industry Review, Mobile Developer TV.